Yeah, you only say safety first over and over again if you are worried that you're going to get sued if people get hurt.
Oh yeah, to
Here's the new villain. We beat the new villain. We move on. Here's the new
Pew
villain. We
pew!
beat the new villain.
Pew
We move
pew!
on. Here's the new villain. We beat the new villain. We move on. Here's the new villain. We beat the new villain. We move on. Here's the new villain. We beat the new villain. We move
Run,
on.
run, run, run. Welcome to Podagus, your friendly eight-legged dog best companion through the 2020 Digimon Adventure reboot. This week we're discussing episode 52, Dance of the Heavens, Hououmon. I'm your host, Jeff Ruberg, and for my guest this week, I'm excited to welcome back my boyfriend and self-professed Sora Stan. Is anyone a Sora Stan? Erik, welcome back to the show.
I'd like to strike that from the record. Thank you.
Is that slander?
Yes, very much.
Wow. Okay, so you were last on for episode 46, which was... Is that right? That's right. What was 46? Oh, Holy Angemon, right?
Yes.
So what have you thought about all the stuff since then? Like the Nohamon, Mugenjamon, Taichi being dead, then he's not dead, but then Millenniumon is dead, and the crests, they exist.
I thought there could have been more Holy Angemon, definitely. I think it's severely lacking since I last been on.
Did he show up at all? I don't remember.
Yes. In the fight against Melangemon, when they're inside the orb, they digivolved to lead them out.
Oh, okay, right. Okay, he was there for like a second.
Yes, he did not get a sequence though.
Where they glowed with the crests and then became
Yes.
Gajimon, yeah.
I thought. Let's see. No, Hououmon. I thought it was I like the character design of the Digimon. It was very interesting. Have a bird that controls this puppet, like a scarecrow. But and nothing really happened in that episode. Mugundramon, that's Machine Dramon, right?
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was an interesting callback. Or not callback. I thought it was an interesting episode. And then Taichi died. I know he wasn't dead because they've killed him off before. And Millenniumon is gone. We waited a millennium for him to arrive, and now he's gone just like that. And the crests aren't dead either.
Now you're just reading my notes.
I am reading your notes. I'm sorry. I'm like, what did he ask? I think it's interesting that they decided to the tail end or the presumed tail end of the show to bring the crest in. So I'm interested to see if they're going to have the crest be something different, because it doesn't seem they need them to digivolve. They just like appear on their digivice.
Right, like the physical item doesn't seem to be necessary, but it does seem like vaguely the concept is required for the Mega Evolution, but not the others, not the previous evolution.
Right.
What did you think about the Crest episode?
I thought it brought is the line. What is the phrase they kept saying? This satisfies my knowledge.
Oh, this brings
Joy to my
yeah,
knowledge.
brings joy to my knowledge, I think.
I thought that the episode brought joy to my knowledge.
I still hate that that phrase makes no sense. I've seen some people paraphrase it as like knowledge bringing them joy, but I'm like, no, it's the opposite. It's bringing joy to knowledge, which makes no sense.
I think it probably makes more sense to say this satisfies my curiosity.
That makes more sense.
And I think it's interesting to see how they're setting up what will be the last part. I'm assuming the last part of the show. So I'm interested to see where it goes.
I guess. I don't know. I feel like in retrospect, that episode feels even more empty than I remembered at the time. Like it had some cool concepts, like this big giant tree with digital memory cards and stuff. Like it had cool visuals, and like Wisemon was a cute little book-sized Wisemon and stuff.
I still want Wisemon to turn evil, because I know you talked about this before in a different episode when you were reviewing the episode. But we will get another episode with Izzy there, so I do want to see Wisemon turn evil because he is very suspicious.
Yeah, like him smiling while saying that stupid phrase makes no sense.
He could just be nice.
No, no one can just be nice. So yeah, I think how much I enjoy that setting will depend on what happens with Koshiro there, if it actually continues. But anyway, we're recording this episode very late, which will probably be obvious by when it comes out. But for people who aren't privy, normally I record the episodes even when they take a while to come out, like even when they don't come out until the Saturday of the next episode, they're usually still recorded like the next morning, like the Sunday before, and that just takes me almost a full week to edit. But this time I just had a lot of stuff come up this week, so we're recording this on the Saturday of the new episode. So it's been almost 7 days since we saw the episode, and I feel like speculating on next week's episode, it's like, well, by the time people listen to this, it's already out, so there's not much speculation. So anyway, it's a weird week, it's a weird episode, but On that note, let's jump into some Mechanorimon and fly into a pillar of volcanic smoke for this week's episode, episode 52, Dance of the Heavens, Hououmon, aka Love First, Safety Second, aka It's a Hard Hat Life, aka Sora's Crest of Lava, aka Hououmon learns firebending. And spoiler policy, like always, we'll be talking about everything included in the Crunchyroll episode, which includes the title and preview for next week, which by the time we're recording this is this week. Anyway, for episode 53. And also spoilers for anything in Adventure or Zero Two, but we'll give you a fair warning if we talk about late stage plot reveals in any other seasons, or if we talk about titles or synopses beyond next week's episode, which we might do at the end because the titles and synopses for 53 to 55 have been released, so we'll give you a warning to check out before we talk about that if you don't want to be spoiled. But anyway, this week, Sora and Taichi fly into a pillar of volcanic smoke, get rescued by Junkmon's crew. Junkmon explains the concept of safety to these dumb kids, then puts them to work. Piomon gets hurt protecting Sora during a minor eruption, and then Sora becomes a workaholic to protect her. The two get into a fight because they both want to protect each other, and Piomon storms off. The volcano starts to erupt for real, and Sora almost stays behind and dies, smothered in lava, but then she reunites with Piomon, so she and Garudamon do stay behind and do get smothered in lava, but they don't die because of the power of love. And then Garudamon evolves into Hououmon and turns the lava into a giant pillar. And it's the end of Final Fantasy 13.
Oh boy.
I still hate that ending. I hate that pillar. Makes no sense.
I'm
so
surprised
stupid.
you finished that game, to be honest. For people who don't know, Jeff starts and does not finish many games.
I used to finish games more reliably before gacha games came into my life.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what did you think about the episode?
I thought it was an alright episode. I thought it was a very good Sora episode, considering she doesn't get a lot of attention in the show. So I thought it was great that they gave Sora her own episode, and she was the first out of the non-main cast / non-tie to get a mega.
And or Yamato.
Yeah, but he's sort of like
he's B tier tie.
Yeah, so everyone else, everyone who hasn't gotten one in the series outside of like Try.
New to Original Adventure, because it's a remake of Original Adventure, not Try.
Yes.
But I think it's I agree with you that it is partially surprising that she's third, although like that is kind of the canonical ordering, like the order of the champion evolutions was Taichi, Yamato, Sora. So that is like the quote unquote standard order that the characters are always listed. Although the Original Adventure, had some exceptions, like Garudamon appeared after Atler Kabuterimon / Mega Kabuterimon. So like they mix it up a little bit between Champion and Ultimate in the original show. But anyway, so like technically she's third, but also technically she's fifth because Gajamon and Hououmon. So like there's a lot of caveats, but I agree with you that it's nice that she, given some priority. It's also like you're saying, it's not nice that she got an episode because she's gotten episodes before. I think it's surprising that she got a good episode for once.
Right.
Because the Garudamon debut episode was pretty bad. The one about soccer where Taichi got turned into fruit wasn't bad. I think if it were in, like, compared to the stretch of episodes that the Garudamon debut episode appeared in, it would have been a great episode. But compared to the other episodes in that stretch, it was, like, one of the weakest compared to, like, Joe's potato fiasco, or the Edamon King of Digimon episode. Like, compared to those, it was, like, this is just okay. So, yeah, I thought this was... I have some issues with, like, the logic of certain things, like the logic of them flying into a pillar of smoke and then be like, whoa, we didn't see this. Or the logic of Sora and Garudamon just like letting themselves get covered in lava and then they're okay. Like, I find that frustrating when I think about it, but in the moment it all felt great, and it felt like the fact that the show actually had room to have a character conflict for once. I was like, oh my god, normal character writing that doesn't feel like this is just an action roller coaster nonstop over and over and over and over and over. Like they actually have a conflict that is surprisingly believable and surprisingly realistic. And like I was comparing it to sitcom misunderstandings. Like it's even more complex than you would find in most sitcoms. In most sitcoms, it's like rom-coms. It's like an obvious misunderstanding. It's like, well, if you guys just talked about the issue, then there wouldn't be any conflict. This is the kind of conflict that, like, even if they talk about it, there is like tension and conflict, and that is a kind of depth that the show has not really shown before. I mean, it was still easily resolved when it's just like all they have to do is say they cared about each other and say they were doing it because they cared about each other, and then it all gets resolved. But until that happens, it felt like it had a surprising amount of realistic depth behind it.
Yeah, and I also think it's interesting because Hououmon is based off like a phoenix, and Phoenix's whole thing is like rising from the ashes, and being reborn.
Yes.
So they literally died and then was reborn.
What I'm hesitant about is that it's not literally the Western concept of a phoenix. Like, I know that the dub name was Phoenixmon for Hououmon, or the video game name, or whatever. In English versions, Hououmon has been called Phoenixmon before, but like the Chinese mythological bird that Ho is named after, which is also the source of Ho the Pokemon. It's a Chinese mythological entity that is similar to a phoenix, to the Western concept of a phoenix, but it's not literally. So I don't know if it has the same rebirth concept to it.
I'm looking at Wikipedia and it says, I guess in Korea it's called like an immortal bird,
Hmm.
used to refer to a type of phoenix that never dies.
But like you shouldn't. So that makes sense when Sora's Digimon is at the Hoemon level that it can bestow immortality powers.
Hmm.
But I feel like just like the logic of like I really liked the moment where Sora is staying behind, like after she and Pion have had their fight, she's staying behind. She's like the eruption started and she's like there's this big hole in the wall and she's trying to build it little brick by little brick and it's like obviously hopeless. Like filling this one part of the wall is not going to help much, and she also doesn't have time to do it by herself. And Junkmon to her is like, "What are you doing? Run away! The point of the wall is just to buy us time to run. The point is not to build the wall. Get away from the wall and run." And I really liked that writing. And then what Sora ended up doing was exactly what Junkmon told her not to do: was to
Right.
hold up the wall until she got covered in lava. And then it was a good thing that time.
Well, he was telling her because he loves Sora, so he did it
Yeah.
out of love.
Maybe he was trying to withhold the evolution from her because he loved her.
Yeah.
Because it turns out what she had to do was let herself die, I guess. But yeah, it's probably like you were saying. It is probably that concept of rebirth. Seems like it is similar in both mythological constructs. Actually, no, I don't see at least like the word rebirth is not mentioned on the Wikipedia article for the Chinese concept. So anyway, I guess it's more about immortality than rebirth.
Right. I did like that. So in the original, it was about Sora not like
The Garudamon episode, you mean?
right. When her crest originally activates in the original, it was about her like being a mother to Beyond Still, like motherly love. But then she realizes like why like her mom did things, she understand her own actions. Whereas in this one, and I know they're two different characters, but it sort of feels like she already knows that lesson and she's already doing it like what she can to protect them. And it's Biyomon that has to learn the lesson.
Hmm. I guess I find it a little disappointing when you make that comparison, though, because like the original adventure concept had more depth. It had the depth to it that like there was Sora's reflection of her own relationships outside of Piedmon. And in this show, it's like they showed the mom on screen chiding her once, but like basically they haven't like she has no like the parents may as well not exist for most of these kids, which is frustrating.
I mean, yeah, it
Disappointing.
was probably more relevant in the original because they were planning on the parents actually showing up and being
Yeah, I just feel like
characters.
even if these parents aren't gonna like be characters like they were in the original show, like if we're not gonna get an arc where they're like present and stuff, they're still obviously like well-known character design and stuff. Like when Mimi's parents were on screen briefly, they like brought back the identical character designs, right? And it was like everyone's like, oh my god, look identical, yay! Like I feel like if you're going for fan service for the older generation, you could do a better job of like hinting at them. I don't know, but yeah, I mean your point stands. So like
Yeah.
it makes more sense to set them up when they're going to be relevant.
Which makes me kind of sad if they're not gonna. It makes me think that they're not gonna have like a real world arc,
Yeah,
which I kind of enjoyed in the original.
yeah. Which it's also weird to look back at when the poster of the show was first revealed way back in January 2020.
Hmm.
I remember we were on a ferry somewhere in Japan when
Right.
that poster came out, and I remember like a lot of the internet discourse about that poster because it shows like mostly like that blue digital space that they were in the first couple episodes, and people were it looks a lot like that nether space they go to in Atmon. So everyone was assuming that it was going to be a series that was set in the real world, and they occasionally dip into another space or dip into digital world and then go back to the real world. And it was like, oh no, I hope they actually go to the digital world. And now looking back at that like year and a half later, and it's like we wished for them to go to the digital world too much. Now they're only in the digital world. That's all that matters. That's all that exists.
Yeah, they haven't even left, right?
Well, some of them went back, right?
When? Oh, right, for like a day.
Well, yeah, I don't know how long it was, but then they came back with no explanation, and also
That's when they brought it was just to get
just to bring the
Kari.
Kari along.
Yeah, her mom's probably so worried about her. It's like I asked Ty's friends to like watch Kari while I go get my car that I left in the middle of the freeway, and now she's gone and I can't find them. Also, my son's been gone for weeks.
I mean, yes, I think it's funny to joke about how the parents seem completely negligent, but I think there is like they can always just pull the time dilation card and be like, a minute has passed. It's been like a
Yeah.
couple hours. That's all.
And then, so I just Googled Digimon Adventure to try and find that image that you were talking about with the blue.
Hmm.
And there's a picture from episode 41 of Imato and Takeru at the amusement park with their parents, and their parents' heads are like not shown. So it's just like the mom is neck down, the dad is
Yeah, that was
also neck
weird because
down.
like for Mimi's parents, they were explicit about like here are their faces, they look exactly like you remember. But for Yamato's parents, it was like, oh, hold on, we need to be really cagey. We need to like blur them out and like cover their faces.
Yeah, it definitely makes me feel like they're not going to show them like interacting at all. Like they're not going to be full characters in the future.
Yeah. Well, speaking of full characters, Junkman. I love Junkman.
I thought he was very good, although I have a suspicion that he does not have workers' insurance. He was too like cautious.
Yeah, you only say safety first over and over again if you are worried that you're going to get sued if people get hurt.
Yeah, I mean weren't there some baby Digimon helping? That's child labor.
Yeah, when they were rescuing baby Digimon, I'm like, why are the baby Digimon at this work site? Like, I mean, we don't really see. Presumably, there was like a town on this volcano island that we didn't see.
Yeah, I wish we would have saw it because it would have made more sense why they're doing this.
Right, like all we saw was them defending a work site. It's like, okay. So yeah, it makes sense they don't want to move away from the place that is their home, but then show us the home and not just the work site.
Yeah.
Anyway, Jungman is great. He's a beaver that has teeth that can saw through things, and then he has a cannon on his back that's made out of a can. And he can shoot things out of the can. He also his beaver tail he can like slap on the ground and use as an alarm. It's great.
Same.
Oh boy.
Oh boy. I thought his canon was interesting.
It's his canon. I remember when we watched the episode, you got upset because when Taichi's loading stuff into his cannon and then shooting it. I don't remember who does what. Anyway, they put the stuff in the cannon and shoot it up, and then someone just putting little pieces of like construction thing inside the Bakuma, inside the box Digimon.
Yeah, like it just went into nowhere.
I don't know why they were doing that. Like they were at the like, was Bakumon gonna like climb with that stuff?
I guess so they could transport a lot and then they can just pull it out of the box, but it didn't make sense.
Bakumon is a mystery. Bakumon, lose your power.
Mystery Bakumon, the new gotcha game.
No, that's not a joke. That's not content.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I think I ranted enough about how frustrated I am that they were so confident that they could turn the tide of the lava. Like I like how I think we'll get to this in some of the questions we got, but I like how they tied Hououmon's element to controlling the lava. That was a neat thing, and it was also kind of cool to have a Digimon premiere in a way that felt very epic without there actually being an enemy Digimon. That's cool that it actually felt epic. On the flip side, I am harsh. I'm just a little bit like, is it sexist that the one character they didn't give an enemy Digimon to is one of the three female characters? Hmm. But also I think it was executed well. They clearly put a lot of care and attention in this episode, so I don't think it is as sexist as it could have been. Like especially given that most Sora episodes have been fairly lackluster, like I think this is not the Sora episode to complain about.
Have we had an episode that introduces a new Digivolution before that doesn't have an enemy?
I don't know we've had an episode without an enemy before.
Because I always feel like whenever the reason they need to go to the next level is because they're not strong enough. They need more power, so they like Digivolve and then they one shot the whatever enemy of the week they're fighting.
I mean,
And
I think the original adventure may have. I need to think about this more. I think the original adventure may have had some episodes where there were no enemies, but like I don't think this season has had any episode with no enemy. Like it's not just they need an enemy to stand in for them to go to the next level. They need an enemy. Like every episode has been a like we need an enemy for them to fight so that it fills the time and they don't have to talk and they don't have to explore their emotions.
even the one when they're just having hamburgers, like they
Yeah.
beat up a potato.
At least that was a character though. That was well, yeah. I don't know. That was a weird episode, but Yeah, and like even the episode, I did try to look back on Yamato's Metal Gurumon's debut episode, and I was like, well, doesn't Metal Gurumon also debut to kind of like just save Machmon, not really to fight anything? But I checked, and it's more like Parasimon is still like Parasimon is mega level, and like Yamato and where Gurumon evolve because of Parasimon's threat, basically.
Right.
So it's like it is kind of to fight the mega form. So I don't know. That doesn't feel great, but so I would totally understand if people watch this episode and they're like, "Oh my god, another way that they slighted Sora." But
I think it's
overall,
so interesting. It just feels a little different that we haven't seen this format before.
yeah, I mean, I think like you're saying, it's interesting. It's like it almost shows more character to Sora than giving her a random like Taichi. Like I get that how like the Parrotmon, whatever Parrotmon evolved into, I don't remember the name now, but that was supposed to be like a Parrotmon versus Greymon callback, and that's kind of a neat way for War Greymon to debut. But like ultimately, that was just a random enemy that appeared, said nothing, did nothing, and then left.
Hmm.
And so like the fact that Sora got a threat that like in some ways the volcano was more characterized than most of the enemies of the week they defeated in the show. So
Right.
so yeah, I think it's good in the end. I also think it's neat that Junkmon is continuing on to next episode with a plausible reason that like, oh, we're exhausted, let's go to the onsen. But also it's frustrating that Taichi is clearly gonna keep going on being every episode.
I was I mean, you know this. I was very upset when Taichi was like, "Oh, I should go to the onsen." You're right. And then it's like, next episode, the onsen. It's like, are you kidding me? Give us one. When they split up, I was like, okay, great. We can have a few episodes where Taichi's not need to be there. He does not need to be involved. Everyone can get some more spotlight. And it's like, no, he needs to be there. And I don't understand why.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand why because they want him to be like the character. They want him to be the show, but I don't understand. I don't agree.
I don't understand. I don't agree. Yeah, I mean, I think he is the lens. He's the avatar that we have going into things, and like I'm frustrated by it, but also I can understand it. Like, people in arguing about whether Taichi is frustrating as a full character or not made lots of comparisons to Goku from Dragon Ball or Luffy from One Piece. And I don't really know much of Dragon Ball, but like One Piece has done it fairly well. Like there are arcs where the entire cast has to split in half because there are too many characters for them to really focus on. And in those arcs, it's like basically like the camera, the reader, the viewer follows the side that Luffy's on. And then once that conflict gets resolved, then Luffy goes to join up the other side, and then we also see it, and then like they film the backstory what happened before he got there and stuff. And so like that is a formula that can work well. It just needs to I don't know, like I feel like One Piece has found a formula where like Luffy has some charisma that Taichi does not have, and also Luffy takes a backstage to the characters that are, important to that arc in a
Mhm.
way that Taichi hasn't. So
I just wish the other characters existed when Taichi is not there because it feels like they do not exist.
yeah, I'm curious how they're going to deal with now, like if all these episodes are like Taichi going around and reuniting with these people that split off from him. Like, are they going to have done anything in the time since he appeared? Like, I hope so, but I'm worried it's going to be like I'm worried it's going to be the same way that like Joe ended up in an onsen with the Nanimon and then ended up resolving the situation, and it was just like all told through like 3-second flashbacks. Like, so
Right.
yeah, because I liked in the original show where it's like Taichi disappears and then it's about how they dealt with like they all acted different because the other characters weren't there. And I feel like like when these characters split up, they all just act the same all the
Yeah.
time.
That's not how they act when we hang out.
No one's gonna understand the Drag Race reference.
They sound well.
Do you think Laganja is a Digimon fan?
Who knows? They could be.
She could act like one when we hang out.
Oh, I can see her doing a Palmon.
Okay, okay.
No, I'm sorry, a Togemon. Although
Who
Palmon
did the
can also.
Togemon recently?
Yeah, Denali
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
in her finale look. If we have prodigious and Drag Race fans, tweet at us, please.
With like the
We're
two
gonna
people
prove
out
this.
there.
It's fine. You've had guests on the show who watch Drag Race.
Yeah. I don't think they listen though.
That's fine.
But yeah, I think that's I think the gist of how I thought about this episode. Like it was great in some ways, a little frustrating in the logic at points, but otherwise like a really surprisingly coherent episode, especially for Sora.
Yes. Go Sora.
So let's go into 3 reviews.
Okay.
Lucas Kukas said Hououmon's beer belly, and
Oh
I
boy.
don't understand the emoji. They use the drooly face emoji. Is this lusting over Hououmon's beer belly? I don't know.
Everyone has the things they're into, and we support that.
I mean, Hououmon, like was quarantined for a year and a half. Shouldn't shame them.
I feel the same way. We stand with Hououmon. Justimon Dragon Mode said, no Meramon? Boo.
And Oriyamon Fighter Mode said Sora Lava Piyomon. Yes.
Yeah.
I hate that Pixar movie. Not Pixar. That Disney short before, whatever. I don't even know what Disney movie it aired in front of. It ruined whatever movie it was.
I think I've only seen it once. Okay. Disney Short Lava from 2014.
Oh, maybe it's Pixar.
It is produced by Pixar, and it was,
Oh, it was for Inside Out.
yes. Wow.
Okay. Well, okay, Inside Out was a good movie, so didn't completely ruin that movie.
Yes. Drew Softman said, it's Sora's Peak, a reference to Dante's Peak.
Which is a movie that neither of us have seen. So
Yes.
we don't get it. But Translation Mon said, Feel Your Love, which is a reference to the iconic
Sora, I can feel your love. Sora, I can feel your love.
Yeah. Yes.
You have something you want to say?
No. No, I don't. They are having a nice moment between them, and you memeified it.
Sora, I can feel you. 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 I can feel your love.
This is why Sora doesn't get episodes.
Sora, I can feel you. I can feel your love.
Love. Okay.
Annie Lucas Oe said, preferred Licky Jedi.
No one prefers Licky Jedi. This is a troll. I don't believe it. I don't like it.
I'm confused as to, I know what Licky Jedi is, but I'm confused as to what they prefer Licky Jedi instead of, because it wasn't a villain.
Well, he appeared in Sora's Focal Tri movie.
Right. Oh, I see.
And he did the titular licking
Right.
in that movie.
Was it Sora he licked?
Yeah.
Oh, wait, I thought it was Meiku.
Yes, it was Sora he licked, and I wish I could get that out of my memory.
Are you sure it was not Meiku when he's holding her against the wall?
I mean, first of all, her name's Mako, and I think he lifts her in the air, not against the wall.
He force lifts her.
He might also lick her too, but the moment I recall is like when they really go ham with animating the lickiness with his tongue is definitely Sora on the ground.
It is Sora, and he puts his hand on the what's her name's Mako's her her chin / neck.
Like I remember that being more about like the movie ending and being like, is Mako dead or not? Which is a stupid thing to think could have happened. But I think Licky Jedi really what he said to Sora was,
Sora, I can feel your love.
I think Sora could feel Licky Jedi's love.
Oh God. Now I'm taking it too far. Anyway, CC Takato said, Mega levels, finally.
Yes, bring on the megas. Joseph Snowsif said, ride or die.
And Agumonger said, 5-second flashbacks.
PX Anime said, remember, safety first, because we don't have workers' insurance.
And Dak and Jackster said, damn. The first and third of those were the without an N, like the physical object, the physical entity that blocks water. So it's like that thing that blocks water. Damn. Anyway.
A beaver dam.
Oh my God, that's why. Oh my God, I didn't. That's why Junkman.
Did you not understand this?
Junkman's building a dam.
Oh
my God.
I think he was building more of a leeway, which we can get into because I personally, obviously the concrete blocks were not going to stop lava. It's meant to slow it down. But I feel like they could have just done something, caused an explosion inside the volcano to cause the eruption so they don't have to live in constant fear.
Yeah, you mentioned this during the episode, and I was like, I don't think this is how volcanoes work. You can't just like solve a volcano. Like
I Googled it. They could have nuclear bombed it.
Okay, yeah, let's just destroy the island.
Why does the digital world even have a volcano? There's no tectonic plates.
Okay, that is something that I forgot to mention before that I wish this concept of volcano was more tied into the digital world aspect of things. Like they did mention that like there was that junk from the real world that appeared or whatever, but I wish instead it was like the volcano was representation of like hate speech or something. Like it's like people being mean on Twitter makes the volcano go up or something.
Okay,
like,
that would be more interesting.
Because I think that'd be cool to tie this very natural earthy concept to like what does that mean in a digital space.
Yeah, so I don't understand why there's a volcano in digital world. I don't understand why there's gravity. Why does it have to be gravity? And some things don't even have gravity. There's a whole floating continent that we still don't know why it's floating. Or is it, did they fall? I can't remember if it fell. But it doesn't make sense.
It didn't fall, but I don't know where they are now.
There's no like physical objects exerting gravity on the
I
digital
mean,
world too.
I
You know what I mean?
no, I think it makes sense for gravity to just be like an effect in the world that's like, even if there's no curvature, even if there's no, like
The digital world is flat.
it probably is. But that's just a thing you simulate with in like a digital space. Like it's a video like
But why would they want it? Why would they simulate it? The only reason to simulate is for humans.
I don't think it's just humans that prefer living in gravity. Living in space with no gravity is,
The humans would be the only ones that have that concept, I feel like.
but the digital world is based in the real world. Anyway, let's move on.
Wild Wing 64 said, finally, character stuff.
Born Individual said Jaws of Life and a picture of Junkmon's teeth.
Oh boy. Austin LC23 said, good Sora episode.
Yep. Well, let's move on to some comments. First off from Dak and Jaxler, who said, slightly nonsensical plot, but great emotional core. Probably the best mega evolution in that regard. Sora became her overprotective mother, which I agree with, but also is kind of conjecture based on this version of the show because we haven't really seen her mother. Anyway, they also say, awesome evolution Sakuga. Nice to see Phoenixmon sporting her sometimes omitted head shadow. She looks way slicker with it. And I did not understand what this meant until I looked into various pictures of Hououmon or Phoenixmon, and I am so confused by this head shadow thing. Like if you look at various depictions of Hououmon, so this one had like the top of the head is like in shadow,
Oh, where
and
it's
if you
like
look
all
at like
black.
yeah, and I think like in particular Try's version of Hououmon is not, and I don't understand like conceptually it shouldn't be in shadow because it's not like if you assume the lighting is coming from above, which I guess it maybe not in this episode because they're in the dark, I guess. But like, I just don't the way the rest of the body is lit up. It doesn't make sense that there'd be a shadow on the top of the head. So I don't not to like defend Try or anything, but like I don't. I think Try's version where there's no shadow there makes more sense, but
Yeah.
maybe the shadow is more stylish. And I guess the concept for the shadow is probably that like Hououmon themselves is radiating light.
But what's casting the shadow?
Right, I mean Hououmon themselves, but like that's not how it's actually drawn when it's shown. Like we don't see really any lighting effects coming directly, like they're not glowing. So it's I get what they're going for, but it looks weird once I noticed it. I didn't notice it at all until this comment pointed out. But Indie Lucas OE said, as a kid I'd watch this and it'd be fine, but Junkmon, as an adult, I gotta say, if you're obsessed with health and safety, your workers need high-vis jackets, gloves, steel-toed boots, goggles, and hard hats. PPE is important. And then they also say that like the 10-year-old version themselves would look at 29 version of them and be like, oh wow.
Yeah, Bioma was just on her state mandated break, and she was not taking a break, and that's a no-no.
Are you saying she shouldn't have gotten insurance because she violated?
No, I'm saying should have taken a break because by law
Oh,
she's supposed to take a break.
I see.
She wasn't taking her 15.
So when Jungmon was like, oh, if you're tired, you should take a break. You think that was also him skirting the law and being like, if you don't take a break, then I'm gonna get reported.
Right.
Yeah, okay. Jungmon's the real villain of the show. He and Mimi are gonna form a union buster. They're just gonna go around destroying worker unions in the digital world.
Yes. Also, no one had those like belts that
Fanny packs?
no, the belts that like support your back that I see when people are like lifting things. I often see people like wearing.
Well, I mean, I don't know if you noticed the little slight detail in how these characters were drawn, but they were all Digimon, not humans. So
Well, they have gravity.
I don't know if that's with the gravity existing in the digital world or not. Anyway, PDX Anime said, so two lasting thoughts I have. Why is 2020 not utilizing warp evolution and reusing all evolution sequences? So I'll respond to this one first. And yeah, I think someone even replied to this mentioning something that I agree with, that like the time I think in the Millennium Battle episode we saw like War Greymon get like a kind of like a stitched together sequence where they kind of combined the three different evolution sequences, and Metal Greymon got that too. I thought that was cool. But watching this episode then, like it's almost like frustrating and jarring when like there's the Greymon evolution sequence and Greymon like kind of it ends with Greymon kind of like standing, like making his pose, and then it just cuts to the Greymon to Metal Greymon evolution sequence, and it's like I feel like that would be such a prime way to like at the end of the Greymon evolution sequence when he like pops out, and instead of making him like stand and make his pose, have it like stitch them together in a way that actually like redraw that part where it transitions, and it wouldn't be that much hard to redraw, and like I think it'd be really cool to have like a custom like the sequences actually like Greymon all being one sequence would be cool, but oh well.
I think it may. So in the original, it was only used for the two megas, obviously.
Yeah.
But I feel like they may be saving it until Tai and Yamato get another mega form, and then save it for that. Like a
Hmm.
better mega, because then it'll be like, okay, this is our final form they're getting.
That seems like a possibility. I kind of doubt it though. Oh, but the other comment a while back, actually, someone mentioned that the Phoenix, the Hououmon appearance was really a cool evolution sequence, and I kind of disagree. Like, especially going back and looking at Metal Garumon's sequence or War Greymon sequence, like it's very lackluster. Like it's there and it exists, and I'm glad. I guess that's how low the bar is with Sora related stuff. Like, okay, she got a sequence, cool. I guess that's what we should be thankful for. But there really isn't anything cool that we kind of just see the drawing of Hoemon, and there's like a little bit of morphing that happens after the drawing appears, but it's kind of just pans around the drawing a little bit. I don't know.
Mhm.
It's compared to the actual like stuff that happens with Greymon and like his arms coming like starting off and then coming on and stuff, and it's they're built different, I guess. But the second comment from PDX Anime, while it's cool there was no bad mon to fight, I feel like Hoemon feels slightly unearned. I get the message, but it feels weak compared to Agumon and Galmon. And I don't know. I personally really disagree. Like I feel like this felt a lot more earned than most of the other ones. Like Gabumon felt like, okay, this is a weirdly episodic episode. That sounds stupid. It's a weirdly villain of the week thing to give him an evolution for. I mean, I liked how it was themed around the racing and stuff, but did feel like odd in a way that this one doesn't. This one doesn't really feel odd at all to me. And the Agumon one felt like it was just, well, I guess it's time to give Taichi his thing. Like I guess I don't know. Especially now looking back on how it's like Taichi's evolution appeared like 20 episodes before everyone else. It's like,
Yeah.
and then he like doesn't do it for most of those 20 episodes again. It's like in retrospect makes it feel unearned because it's like, why did it even appear then?
I don't think it feels unearned. I would say more it feels odd, and probably because what we talked about earlier, there being no monster they're fighting against that they have to push themselves to evolve to, and also because while I enjoy the like interaction between Sora and Biyomon, it doesn't seem like it was like a major fight. I mean, she told her like, what did she say? I hate you.
I think that was pretty big, like saying I hate you and then running
I,
away.
I I feel like we've first seen Digimon tell someone they hate them like so many times.
I
So
don't think so. I mean, I don't think in this show.
I guess to them it was big,
Yeah, I think it was their first big fight.
I suppose.
So what the moral of the story is, if you get into a big fight, just bathe together in a bathtub of lava, and then you'll be fine.
Yeah,
Just like submerge yourselves in lava together, and then you'll work out your problems.
yeah. But I think it just felt different than what we're used to seeing for evolutions, and I think that's why it feels a little odd, like we mentioned before.
I guess. Yeah, I'm curious to see. Like even though I've been keeping myself kind of pure to see the fan reaction, even though I'm recording this really late, because usually I wait until I've recorded and released the episode before going and listening to other podcasts and stuff. So I'm curious to see if this is a common opinion or not. Because yeah, to me, it wasn't a thought I really had at all while watching the episode. But moving on, Justimon Dragon Mode said, "Oh no, Ty's compass is spinning because he needs to be present in everyone's Mega Evolution episodes." And yeah, I don't know why I didn't see that coming. Like as soon as it started spinning, and I started to be like, "Oh, maybe it's because he already has it, or whatever." It's like, no, it's just malfunctioning, so he can be in every episode. Like he's probably gonna hit it at the end, and it's gonna work properly. And he's like, "Oh, guess I didn't need to travel all around, huh?"
I really hope these compass spinning things like actually is something interesting. I'm worried it's not going to be.
Yeah, I'm worried about that too. I also don't understand why I assumed the point of them staying in this location for the whole episode, was that Sora's compass, like they got there and then it was so clear the compass was pointing to here. But apparently that's not what happened. Apparently they landed because of the smoke thing and then didn't check their compass again until the end. And then it's like, oh, it's still telling me to point. It's still pointing me in a different direction. So I like,
And yeah,
like I don't understand Taichi at the end of the episode being like, "Oh, my compass is still going all sorts of directions," and then splitting off from Sora. Like there was a reason he chose to accompany Sora at the beginning of the episode, and nothing changed by the end. I guess now she has an egg evolution, so I guess she's more able to fend for herself. I guess.
yeah. I think maybe he saw the growth in Sora and Biyomon. He's like, they don't need me, and also they're not going to get an episode for a few episodes. So let me
Yeah,
just
it's
go where the
like
cameras are going.
I saw the important stuff happen here. Like I'm gonna check out this show for a while. Go back to the where the real show's happening.
Yeah, I'm curious if they're going to, because in the original, obviously their crests activated. I'm sorry, their tags. No, the crests activated when they were finding their tags, right?
No, the tags were just a holder for the crest.
Okay, so the tags activated when they were finding the crest. The necklace started shining once the crest was nearby.
Oh, I didn't even remember that.
Yeah, I recently rewatched the original.
That seems so stupid because like the tags they got were not personally identifiable or anything. They just got like I thought it was just like a pile, and they was like, "Oh, hey, you take random ones."
Right, right. And then when someone was by their crest, it started glowing.
Yeah,
And
okay.
then,
I guess it was
yeah,
based on their individual person or whatever. It wasn't like a physical. It wasn't based on the item. They were like I don't know. It
right.
wasn't like the tag and crest were linked. It was like the human and the crest were linked.
Right. So I'm curious if are they heading towards a crest? I feel like they're heading towards something different.
I think they're probably heading towards the crest. But what does it even mean to have a physical item that is the crest? I don't even know.
Yeah. And if Sora already has her mega, what does she need the crest for?
I wonder, like, are they trying to surprise us with, because like everyone assumes they're going to get the physical representation of the crest, but are they going to use that to upstage our expectation, or are they going to? I don't know.
I don't know either.
Yeah, I mean, must be especially confusing to people who are watching fresh without the original show's knowledge, because it's like I don't know. I'm curious if it's more confusing or less confusing. But anyway, Joseph Snowstiff asked, "Where do you think the lava went?" And I just thought this was important to read out because I remember when we watched the episode, you kept complaining that like the pillar was going to fall down after they left.
At some point, now that they're volcanoes, they're probably earthquakes as well.
Oh god, that's yeah, that's true. If there's a volcano erupting nearby, there's probably earthquakes nearby. So like a completely vertical pillar is probably not the safest thing.
Also, the volcano can erupt again. It's not like that pillar is going to fall, and instead of running from lava that's hitting concrete barriers, they're going to have it look like glass falling from the sky. So, way to go, Sora.
Yeah. Well, Justin on Dragon Mode said, "Have we actually confirmed or not that Taichi was dead and the Corsage brought him back to life through the power of love and friendship? What did he see on the other side? Was Superman right and death is fuzzy, or did he go to holy Digimon heaven like Shia LaBeouf?" I don't know what this has to do with Shia LaBeouf, but yeah, I don't think Taichi was dead. Like I think he was presumed dead, and it turned out he had just passed out on a rock somewhere.
Yeah, I think he just felt like Kyrie. I'm sorry, Kari. Which one is it now? Now I'm confused. I have
It's
Kingdom Hearts and
Hikari or
Digimon.
Kari, not
Okay.
Kyrie. Kyrie, you'll never steal Kyrie's heart.
You will never steal Kyrie's name.
You will steal Hikari's heart.
Okay, so I think he just felt Kari like thinking about him and maybe her saying his name, and that like helped him. The same way Digimon feel like the power of their Digidestin when they're exhibiting something. Those are words. I hope they made sense.
It's a great addendum to sentence on a podcast. Those are words. I hope they made sense.
Her feelings and resonated, and it woke him up, and then he was able to fall and digivolve, make Agumon digivolve, similar to how Yuna did summon Valfor in Final Fantasy X when she
Okay,
jumped.
no, you don't need to make a reference. Oriamon Fighter Mode said, "Letting Piomon control lava was a great addition since it distinguishes her fire powers from more Greymon's fire powers, especially when you have ice, electric, grass, water, holy, and holy with the other megas. How would you separate Tailmon and Patamon's evolution typings?"
I think Patamon. I think I would do Holy and Light. I feel like they're separate. I feel like Light is the actual manifestation of light, and Holy is more like I don't know how to describe it. I think that there can be a distinction between Light and Holy.
I think this question is calling for more like in the way that like Hououmon is more like healing fire, and Wargreymon is like damaging fire. So I'm thinking that like Tailmon's evolutions. I mean, this doesn't fit with how they've been shown in an original adventure, but I think it would be kind of fitting for it to be like Patamon's evolution line being more like buffing light. Like, and then Tailmon, because I'm also kind of thinking more of Tailmon's representation in original adventure. If Tailmon's version of holiness was more like damaging, like she's more vindictive and like using the holiness to do damage, whereas Angemon's using it to
Heal. I mean, he had
heal.
the
Yeah.
antidote.
What?
In when they beat Piedmon, Magna Angemon used the Magna antidote to
Oh,
turn their keychains back to normal
I
people.
didn't even remember. I remembered he did the whole sword thing to defeat Paimon. I don't remember.
The Gate of Destiny, yes.
Yeah, I didn't remember that he would actually. I forgot how they got rid of the keychain part.
Yeah, he did a Magna antidote where he like crossed his arms, like he dabbed, and then the
No, okay.
keychains came back.
He never dabbed. I'm scratching it from the record. Next question from Austin LC23 said, "A legitimately good episode. There was no fight except Sora and Piomon. The setting was interesting, and it wasn't the final destination of Sora's compass. It was weird to have a repeat this phrase a lot joke 2 episodes in a row, though. I agree, they both seem like cults. Weird. Anyway, overall Sora's best episode this series. Also agree. Junkmon made me realize that aside from Kazu and Tamers, unless you count Metal Greymon and Metal Garurumon, no main cast member has ever had a machine partner. Which of the Adventure Kids do you think would be best suited for one slash for Junkmon?
I don't think Junkmon, but a machine type partner, I think would go well with Izzy
Yeah, I'm like, Izzy is the obvious answer.
because he's like techie. He knows how to restart his computer.
I mean, like, he was paired, like, Kabutaimon's debut in the original show was paired with Andromon, right? And, like, even the way that he did that time, like, he kind of, like, tinkered with Tentamon's code or whatever and like triggered it. So like I feel like Koshiro or Izzy with Machine Digimon just makes a ton of sense, but also makes so much sense that it's kind of boring. So yeah, I think Koshiro makes no sense. Like Taichi would make the least sense. Taichi would just hit his machine until it started working again. Although that's more like original Taichi. I don't know if this Taichi has no personality, so I don't know what he would do.
Yeah, I don't see any of the other cast members actually understanding machines besides Izzy.
Wow.
I don't. I like every time there's a technological issue, there's like Izzy, can you do this?
I mean, I would appreciate it going to like Sora, Mimi, or Hikari just for the like bucking the kind of gross sexist trend of or the idea that only guys are into robots or machines, which is a joke that One Piece likes to pull out of its hat a lot, and I don't understand why everyone thinks it's funny every time. Anyway, but
Oh, I think Yoli could get one. I mean, this question was for Adventure, but I also think Yoli could get
well, yeah, she's
for the same reasons though as
yeah.
Izzy.
I think for not the same reasons, I think it would be interesting for Mimi.
Mhm.
Like the thing I was thinking of when I was thinking Mimi was actually when Andromon was covered in when they left him to die. He was covered in grass like the Iron Giant. Something like a hybrid of environmental and machine would be a cool concept for Mimi.
Mhm.
But it's hard to any of the speculation is kind of like you're hypothetically like removing them from their actual partner, which I'm like, well, I wouldn't want to like take away Palmon, so I don't know. But like a Palmon evolution that was more mechanical, that would be kind of cool.
Yeah, just give her a robot eye.
Well, anyway, closing thoughts for this episode. I think I'll give it a 4 out of 5. Like I had enough
Um,
reservations. I was tempted to say 4.5, but I had enough reservations about the logic that I think just gave it a 4. 4 is high. What do you think?
I'll do 4 as well. I think good job, Sora.
She really soared into the sky.
We lava the episode.
No, MVP Junkmon, no question.
I'll do Bakuman because he got all the bricks and was unthanked.
And then he just ate them and was never seen again.
Yeah.
Well, that brings us to next week's episode, which episode 53, the Gecko Hot Springs Revolt. And it seems like they're going to be fighting a Tono-sama Gekomon, which is if that's a name you don't recognize, was in the dub Shogun Gekomon. Which I don't blame them for changing the name because Tono-sama Gekomon is especially the way that the style that the I mean, there's debates about what style to use for Digimon names. I prefer the style that the dub used, where you capitalize each word, which is in programming called camel case. I know a lot of people who prefer the Japanese side of Digimon like to put spaces in between. So it'd be Tonosama space Gekomon. But the way the official subtitles for the show do it, where they just capitalize the first letter and nothing else, where it's just Tonosama Gekomon, Tonosama Gekomon. I'm like, what the, what's Tonosama Gekomon? Anyway, so yeah, I don't like that style. But will Joe be able to save the captured Gomon and free the hot springs? I'll have to say this episode looks bonkers. We're recording this on Saturday, a couple hours before it comes out, and there have been some like preview screenshots and stuff. It looks even wilder. Also, if you've read the synopsis for this episode, that will Joe be able to save the captured Gomon and free the hot springs is just the tip of the iceberg. It seems. But the one thing we saw in the preview was Kabukimon, who is that weird looking Digimon that apparently is an evolution of Tailmon and Mimi's Digiegg, the Digiegg of sincerity/purity, which is interesting. That could be a random Digimon that appears, like a lot of armor evolutions in the show have been just random side Digimon, like the Mambomon cops, and there's lots of armor evolutions that have been unrelated. But it could be a wild card like Panchamon.
I mean, Kyrie is at the onsen with Joe, but I think currently Gatomon can't digivolve, so this could be them fixing that or addressing that. Because I know Gatomon and Patamon could not digivolve at the Tree of Knowledge.
Well, so I think a lot of people are trying to like connect the dots and figure out the pattern that like the way that Panchamon appeared, and it was like Togemon plus a little bit of Patamon became Panchamon because Togemon.
Patamon was inside.
Right, Patamon was
Palmon's.
inside, and
Mhm.
like canonically before Panchamon was Togemon plus Patamon's Egg.
Mhm.
But that same structure doesn't really apply here because Mimi's not there. So there's no way for Palmon to be like somehow involved in Tailmon's evolution.
Maybe could show up randomly.
I doubt it. But I've seen people also speculate that this could be an evolution for Gomamon.
Mm.
And I don't know. There's a lot of things it could be. I think it's just gonna be a random Digimon that helps them lead the revolt or whatever, like the Nohamon.
I agree. I think giving Goemon an evolution that isn't a Mega after Sora just got hers is a little weird, especially if it's like not his Mega.
Yeah, this also seems like a strange episode for Vikemon's debut, which presumably it is. I think it's interesting how they set up like basically the first episode of the batch after the Crest episode was loudly called Hououmon, and
Mhm.
they like spoiled in the preview. Sorry, the analyzer for the Crest episode included the picture of Hououmon, so like it was obvious that Hououmon was going to appear. It was obvious we're going to start getting Mega Evolutions, and then immediately after that they start getting coy. It's like, oh, it's a Joe episode, but it's called the Gecko Hot Springs Revolt, and the teaser, the analyzer we get is Tonosama Gekomon, not Vikemon. So like, without spoiling it, like the titles for the next batch of episodes too also make it vague whether we're gonna get more megas or not. So I think it's kind of cool that like they like tossed one freebie to us that was like obvious, and then it's like, are we gonna follow a pattern? Who knows? That's kind of neat.
Yeah, I prefer it. I prefer them like sprinkling it here or there and then putting in what sounds like more fun episodes as opposed to like, okay, Sora got hers next, okay, next, and
So you don't want it to be Mega Evolution.
I don't mind it, but I would prefer a fun episode over a mega because the mega is like, okay, we know what the megas are, we've seen them and try, but if we're getting a fun episode similar to the Panchomon one, then I'm all down for that.
I want both. I want it to be a fun episode that also,
I want every episode to be fun, so
I don't want it to be so dragged out that it's like, because if we're getting a Joe Focus episode now and kind of spoiler alert, a Mimi Focus episode in a couple weeks, and those aren't where they premiere, then it's like, oh god, that's what we're gonna be. Like, we can't then immediately have another Joe Focus episode. So like, how long is it gonna be before we can? I don't know. So I kind of hope they are fun and show off evolutions. But by the time you're listening to this, that episode's already out, so you'll know. So let's go into recommendations. Do you want to recommend something this week?
I'm gonna recommend Drag Race since
No, you're
you
not.
saw me. What?
You're recommending Ratchet and Clank.
Oh, right.
Oh
I'm
my
gonna
god.
recommend Ratchet and Clank: A Rift Apart.
You moved on so quickly you forgot you played the entire game.
It's been like 7 days, Jeff, since you asked me. I'm gonna recommend Ratchet and Clank: A Rift Apart for the PS5. It's a very fun game. I played on Saturday, Sunday of last week. When it came out, I did nothing except play the game.
Wait, did you finish? You finished on Sunday?
Yeah, I platinumed the game.
On Sunday though? I know you platinum. You don't need to
Yes.
brag about the platinum.
Yes. When you woke up, I said I can finally stop playing because I platinumed the game. It's a really fun game. The humor is really on point. And they have a lot of good battle mechanics. It looks beautiful. Yeah, it's an amazing game.
All right. On that note, I will recommend, instead of a video game, I'm going to recommend a TV show about video games called Mythic Quest that is only on Apple TV Plus, which can be a pain, but you can get it even if you don't have an Apple device. But I know it's a hard ask to get a subscription streaming service just for the one show. But anyway, it's on near the end of the second season now, so you can watch the whole first. You can like, get a free trial and watch the whole first season, watch most of the second season. Also check out Ted Lasso because Ted Lasso is great. But anyway, Mythic Quest is a show about a development studio. Kind of has some Silicon Valley vibes since it's a kind of Silicon Valley concept, but instead of a Silicon Valley, it's video game development. But it has a lot of shared DNA with It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, which is a show that I know virtually nothing about. But the main thing that drew me into this show is that it stars Ashley Birch, and she's also a writer on the show. And I've been following her since the Hey Ash, What You Playing days, and now she's like big time video game voice actor. She's like the main character in the Horizon Zero Dawn series and stuff. So it's cool to see her like doing full on acting for once. And I was worried that her role was going to be kind of negligent, like this side character, because she plays a tester at the video game company. I was like, okay, so she's not going to be very important. But they find interesting creative ways to incorporate the tester characters into the show. They're not just side characters who are, they end up being central in more ways than you expect, considering in real life how important testers are generally not considered. But anyway, it's a good show. There's also an episode in the first season that is a completely standalone episode that is like exceptional, that you can watch without watching any of the rest of the show, and totally should. It's really good. I think like basically having watched most of both seasons now, it's kind of like, oh yeah, pretty fun show. But that one episode in season 1 was like spectacular. It stood above the entire rest of the show. So anyway, Mythic Quest, good. So that, I think, brings us to the end of the show. This episode of Pottages is brought to you by slings. Nothing magically heals a character over time in a cartoon, like just putting their arm in a sling for half the episode, and they're healed, and then they can get really emo about it. Anyway, last week's Digiprompt was in honor of Burpmon's anime debut. What's the most obscure Digimon you would want to appear in Adventure 2020? And my favorite response came in from, well, first of all, there were so many great responses for this one. It was really hard to choose. But runner-up was NNM podcast with Yakimon, who is a Digimon I'd not seen before, who was basically a sweet potato wrapped in newspaper with boxing gloves, which is very Digimon, and I love it. But my favorite response was from Dragon Rod Art, who's check out, who does really cool pixel art of Digimon, and also non-pixel art as well. But the Digimon they mentioned is Hououmon, who is also pronounced in Japanese Hououmon. And so it's the snake Digimon that is a pun on three things. It's named after Habu, who is he's also known as Hououmon on Twitter. He's a producer for the Digimon franchise, worked on most of the video games recently. And it's also a pun on that's Habu is how you would spell USB hub, basically in Japanese. And Habu is how in Japanese you would spell this particular kind of snake that the USB hub snake is. It's very cute. I love it. It should appear in the anime. That'd be great. But anyway, this week's Digiprompt is in honor of Hououmon's battle against nature. What Digimon would you want to see fighting off against a non-Digimon threat? And the timing for this is a little weird because we're recording this and going to be recording next week's episode pretty soon after, so it might not be some time. But if we'll get the responses eventually. If you send them to pottages@gmail.com, to pottages on Twitter, or in the episode comments on pottages.com. So share the podcast with your friends who might shout that they hate you and run away, but will always show up and turn into a giant fireproof phoenix when you need them. It would be awesome if you leave a review on Apple Podcasts. It only takes a minute, and each review helps a ton. If this is your first episode, don't forget to subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, or wherever else you find podcasts. Erik, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
And if people want to check you out, if people want to find you in the digital world, where can they find you?
On Twitter at Leo Untweeted, where I will occasionally tweet, but I'm trying to tweet a little more, so there'll be some good stuff, I'm sure.
I feel like you're making the opposite. Most people are like, I'm trying to get off Twitter. You're like, I'm trying to get more on Twitter.
I mean, I'm somewhere in between.
Well, I am definitely Jeff on Twitter, and you can also check out my general anime podcast, Love It or Weep It, where coming up soon we'll have episodes on Don't Toy With Me, Nagatoro. Yay. And what's the other one? Oh, Super Cub. That's my review of the show. Anyway.
Oops, spoilers.
Thank you everyone for listening, and I'll be back next week to talk about episode 53, The Gecko Hot Springs Revolt. Bye.
Bye.
And remember, never stop digivolving.
終わりなんかないぜそうさここは今僕らの出発点をそれ意味のようって誰も知らない明日はあるから待ってよ今さら立ち止まれる僕らの日常道とあの日君と壁に書いた三日風を今さらどこも行けないぜって朝かいね朝かいねなら大人になんかなっちゃいけないね
I was gonna be like, wow, so it seems like Sora and Taichi end up
Castaways, we are castaways.
but it never came up.
Oh boy.